Okay.
The chairs have been changed.
Well,
For a reason.
This is what I said. So, I'm sitting here.
It's for Eric.
Who is it for?
Because he was born.
All right. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the May 30th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Madam Clerk, the first item, please.
First item, proclamations, presentations. Number one, recognition of Marilyn Nichols, Register of Deeds upon her retirement.
Oh,
Cindy. I know, this is going to be very, very hard. We have two retirements today. Well, Dinah's announcing hers, and then you're going to be leaving us.
Grateful recognition and appreciation to Marilyn Nichols, Shawnee County Register of Deeds, for 17 years, January 13th, 1997 to May 31st, 2013. Of outstanding and dedicated service to Shawnee County and its citizens, presented by the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful. Thank you, Shawnee. Yes, thank you.
You've always had a pretty good working relationship with the county commission, this current one and past.
Right.
But we have always appreciated your professionalism, your dedication to the office,
Thank
and
you.
your public service. So
Thank you so much.
do you have? I know you have some family members
Yes,
here.
I do. I have my mother that's there in the back of the room there, and the tall gentleman with the little boy. It's my grandson and great-grandson. That's Dusty's son and grandson. And my daughter-in-law is here, and my stepdad is here. So I have oh, my husband's here. I was going to say, I take so much credit that he's around a lot that everybody does. I'm sorry, dear. It's Nick. His right. His Nick. Okay.
Cindy, did you want to say anything?
No, I can't.
You sure?
Oh, sweetie. I'm telling everybody who got a little teary, I'm not dying that I know of, so you can still call me, come see me, whatever.
We started our campaigning for elected life together.
Yeah, we were just young pups and didn't know what we were doing, and going door to door, and Cindy's scared to death of dogs. So I had to be the front man and make sure that nobody was gonna get bitten.
And then she, even if the sign said it's fenced yard and the sign said beware of dogs, she would go up and put our brochures in there and then come walking out, and then around the corner comes a Rottweiler or a pit bull or something. I was like, no. Yeah,
So we've been a good team. When I could do what she could do, something better, we put together.
So,
We will be great.
yes.
Commissioners,
Thank you
did
very
want
much.
to say anything else?
I just really want to thank you for all your service and everything that you've done. As a new commissioner, it's just been really refreshing to have the assistance of your office and always there available to answer questions. And it's been really assistant, and I'm really thankful for all your service.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I feel the same way. I'm going to kill a little time to give Cindy a moment to pose herself. But no, it's been a good working relationship. Way too short, but I want to wish you very happy retirement.
Thank you.
And stay in touch.
I will.
Best wishes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So-
All right. Thank you.
All right, next item. Please. Yes.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Are there questions or a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
It's a motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Madam Chair, we have two set of voucher payments this morning, one dated May 24th, 2013, in the amount of $1,110,462.96. The second is dated May 29th, 2013, in the amount of $945,386.68, and I'll make a motion to approve the voucher payments.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Archer to approve the voucher payments, second by Commissioner Cook. Are there questions?
I have none.
I have none.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
Move approval.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item B, Kansas Expo Center, number 1, consider approval of request for capital expenditures for A, purchase and installation of a new Microtech computer in McQuay Chiller number 2 at a cost of $5,539. Item B, purchase and installation of new flow switches on McQuay Chillers number 1 and number 2 at a cost of $1,445. Item C, purchase of bearing and seal kits for 2 Bell and Gossett recirculation pumps on the Land and Arena chill water loop at a cost of $2,748.40. Item D, replacement of a faulty carburetor on the Nissan forklift at a cost of $669.05. And E, installation of new seals on the mast cylinders on the Nissan forklift at a cost of $975.72.
Morning, Commissioners. H.R. Cook, General Manager at the Kansas Expo Center.
Morning, H.R.
These items in front of you have been approved by the Advisory Board unanimously last week. There is an item that is not included on the agenda that was included in my memo that was also approved by the Advisory Board, and that was the continuation of the installation of the point-of-sale system from Micros. We need some additional wiring done as far as some Cat 5 switches and shelving units for those switches. That is in the bottom of the expenditure memo. That is not to exceed $8,000 from various vendors. We're looking at about 13,000 feet of Cat 5 shielded cable, a rental from United Rental for a scissor lift to be able to get to where we need to wire, and the switches, electrical switches, as far as the computer switches, would be coming from probably Network Technologies, and the cabling coming from Chris Davis, who has also previously been approved for 1,000 feet, but we ran into an issue where we need 13,000 feet instead of 1,000 feet because I underestimated, and that is not to exceed a total of $8,000. That funding source for that project is separate from our capital expenditure fund with the Expo Center, so that would not be affected. This comes from the Heart of America Fund, which the county is holding those funds, and does not affect the budget.
Okay. Thank you, H.R. Are there questions?
Do we need to add that expenditure as an amendment to the request? I remember seeing the documentation, but.
Yeah, it's included in the memo. It's just not, I don't know the proper procedure because it's not listed as an agenda item.
Right.
You just need to move to adopt what's in the memo.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to adopt what's in the memo.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have $39,500 left in our capital expenditure fund. We should be coming to the commission within the month regarding a transfer from some of our operating funds to help try to cover through the rest of the year. So.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
HR.
Item C, Public Works, number 1, consider approval of request to fill a vacant road maintenance position at an annual cost of $32,604, including benefits, and to fill any subsequent openings that may result from filling this position.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block for Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item in which we recently had a member of one of our road maintenance crews resign, which is leaving one of our district crews understaffed, and I'm here asking permission to fill that vacancy, and if it is filled within the department, which would open up another vacancy, I'm asking that that vacancy also then be subsequently filled until we have all the positions back in place. As mentioned, the annual salary, which includes benefits, is $32,604. The funding would come from our Public Works Road and Maintenance budget, of which we have adequate funding, so there would not be any negative impacts as a result of filling this position. So if there's any questions regarding this request, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thanks, Tom. I have no questions. Are there questions from the commission?
I would move for approval.
There's a motion to approve the request by Commissioner Cook and second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Item D, Health Agency, number 1, consider approval to submit a grant application in an amount of $85,943 in supplemental funding for CHC to assist with outreach and enrollment of uninsured residents eligible for health insurance exchange.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alice Weingartner, Shawnee County Health Agency. Before you is a request. Funds are being made available to federally qualified health centers across the country to help support the efforts of enrolling individuals who are eligible for insurance in the health insurance exchange. These dollars in the amount of $85,943, really the one actual requirement is that we do hire at least one FTE to fulfill that function within our organization. The funding at this time is allocated for 1 year. They don't know if there will be additional funding to follow. It just depends on how those funds are used over the course of the year, and if the federal government decides this is successful enough, then they would anticipate making additional funds available. The funding will also assist us in purchasing technology so that we can create essentially virtual offices for this these personnel to go out and work in the community. I do need to share with you, I've made some number changes, and so let me give you a copy.
Thanks.
If you turn to the fourth page in your packet, actually it's even the third page in your packet, some of the changes that I've made, this has been a grant that has come about very quickly. The grant was just announced a little over 2 weeks ago, and so we've been working with community partners to try to pull numbers together to figure out how we can best meet the needs in the community. In the original application that I submitted to you, we were looking at essentially funding 1.5 or 1.0 FTE. We actually will have some staff internally that we can use to help support this work, and with these funds we would be able to help support some of their time. In the original document that you were given, I reflected that we would have 18.5 individuals who would go through the required 30-hour training. Through some technical assistance calls and working with various directors from other departments, I really did scale back these numbers to be a little bit more realistic so that we could have something that was achievable, and if we can exceed them, all the better. So we're looking at identifying a minimum of 8 volunteers, hopefully through our Medical Reserve Corps program, who would attend the 30-hour training that's required. Based on numbers we received from our various safety net clinic providers, we're looking at providing assistance to approximately 5,000 people in the community. And that assistance really does have to do with informing them and educating them of the availability of the health insurance marketplace and determining if they are eligible. And then we would look to enroll 1,000 people into a marketplace insurance plan. And our primary focus would really start with the community health center patients that we already have who are uninsured. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Madam
Thanks,
Chair.
Alice. Yes, Commissioner Cook.
Alice, is this a position that we're going to need to fill as part of the Affordable Care Act, regardless of whether or not we get the grant application?
I would say we could, but again, there's still so much information coming down and everything is so new that it's hard to say at this point what our staffing needs will be. I think the plus about having these funds available is it gives us the opportunity to have money available, to use this position really for that surge capacity, because these first 12 months are really going to be spent educating the public on what the health insurance marketplaces are. We can then evaluate, maybe we get a large number of people enrolled initially, and we can decrease the number of staff who support those efforts. But again, it's hard to say at this point.
With the request for $85,943, and we have that through the first year, where does that leave the health department on the second and subsequent years? Is that then going to be shifted into a budget request, or would that position go away?
It could be either. Again, we're going to have to assess what the needs are of the patients that we serve and the community that we serve. And then if we can incorporate it into what our allocation is at that time, we could do that. Otherwise, that position could go away. I think the important thing to remember is that we're constantly having to evaluate what our staffing configuration is. And there may come a time where we decide certain levels of staffing can be adjusted to help accommodate new needs. And so we're always trying to keep that in mind.
If the grant is just for the first year, and after that first year, are there other resources that we would be able to draw from in the community to continue this program? Are there other grants that would be potentially available to us to help sustain that cost?
I think that we're probably going to see some of maybe the local and state foundations look at trying to support those efforts as the support for getting people enrolled in insurance plan grows. I think the other important thing to remember is there are a number of community partners who aren't even receiving this funding who are also going to have staff trained to help get the public enrolled. So this doesn't just fall on the shoulders of the community health center, it falls back as a community response. And we've seen that happen previously with the Medicare Part D enrollment programs that have taken place over the years.
Thank you.
Only the CHC can apply for this funding, though.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Archer.
a few. Conceptually, I have problems with applying for grants, and then the grant ends, and then what happens?
Sure.
And I talked to the county councilor a little bit about this last night. It was my experience in working at the Coast Guard Pay Center that we would have temporary assignments that typically lasted about 6 months. And what happened when the people came in there was they did two things. Number one, they started looking around for other positions that were permanent, and they started building the case that not only was what they were doing important, it was mission critical. So I do have concerns about grant funding and losing that funding and it going to the property taxpayers of Shawnee County. I did write Alice an email yesterday, and I think this would be a good test for any kind of funding that we request in a grant. And I said, would you absolutely support this expenditure if it was your property tax paying for it and not a grant? And Alice wrote back, since you asked my opinion, I do support the use of tax dollars for the purpose of supporting those who are uninsured and underinsured, many of whom are working, individuals who do not have access to or cannot afford health insurance. We have put policies in place to work with those we serve to ensure patients are paying for a portion of their care based on federal poverty guidelines. This expectation helps to convey to the public and staff that there is value in the services we provide. After reading that, if I ever need any political advice, I'm going to come straight to you. I'm going to support this grant application, but and we're going to have an orientation in the next few weeks about grant funding and how, we have mission creep that happens.
Sure.
Because it concerns me very greatly. But I am going to support this, and I want to point out that I think Alice and Allison are tremendous advocates for public health in Shawnee County, and I appreciate the work that you and Allison do.
Thank
So,
you.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
It's a motion to approve by Commissioner Archer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. I would echo Commissioner Archer's comments about your work, both of your work in Shawnee County, but throughout the state and the region as well. You both do an excellent job. The health agency and the local health department have a number of grants that flow through from the state and the federal government, and you do an excellent job of tracking those because you have to, but also you just do a great job. So I appreciate that. And I know you have good staff back at the office who assist you with that as well. So, all those in favor of the motion say.
There's a little tear to my eye, Cindy.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item D2, consider approval to submit 2 Work Well Kansas mini grants applications from the Wichita Business Coalition on Healthcare in an amount of $1,000 each to assist work sites in Shawnee County with efforts to improve worksite wellness for employees.
Morning, Commissioners. Allison Alejos, Health Agency. As stated in the memo, this is a mini grant application that we would like to submit. Actually, 2 applications, one on behalf of the Shawnee County Health Agency Worksite Wellness Committee and the Shawnee County Wellness Committee. These 2 applications would be a total of $1,000 for the 2. One for the health agency would be to install bike racks at 3 of our locations, one being the main agency, one being the California Clinic, and one the 10th Street Clinic. And the $1,000 for the county would be an installation of a bike rack here at the courthouse, along with the installation of a TV that could be put in the employee break room to put health promotion messages on that. There is no required match. It is part of the Work Well Kansas program that we are currently involved with, and just seeking your approval.
Thanks, Allison. Other questions?
No. Move to approve.
So motion to approve by Commissioner Cook,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Item D3, consider approval of resolution number 2013-47, declaring the eligibility of Shawnee County, Kansas to submit an application to the Kansas Department of Transportation for use of Safe Routes to Schools funds set forth by MAP 21 for the Quincy Elementary project, and authorizing the Shawnee County Health Agency LHD to sign the application for an amount of $12,000 with a 20% match of $2,400.
This grant opportunity has come about. The Kansas Department of Transportation has some funding from the Federal Highway Administration, and they have programs available to help promote walking and bicycling to school for those that are in elementary and middle school. And so Misty Kruger's been working with USD 501 and has come up with an application, a process that they would like to implement. What they'd like to do is seek funding for phase 1 of this actual application, this grant, so that they can do an evaluation of the area surrounding Quincy Elementary, looking at the sidewalks, seeing what kind of obstacles might be there preventing children from walking to and from school. Would do that with the use of volunteers under the guidance of health agency, and ultimately preparing a master plan for improvements in that area. Part of the grant application and what we're requesting today is the approval or consideration of the resolution that's attached. This resolution is required for the grant application, and you can see it just basically provides, it acknowledges that the county has authority to submit for those funds and a variety of other things, and also allows myself, the local health department director, to sign and submit the grant application, which will then be coming forward to you all next Thursday.
Did the MPO approve those
They
grant
did.
applications as well?
The
Yes.
MTPO did approve the grant application as well.
Okay.
And Chair, yeah.
Yes.
This is a resolution that I'm sponsoring, and I'm happy to do so. I was wondering if you could speak to just some of the demographics of Quincy Elementary
Sure.
and why this is an important program for this community.
Certainly. We do know that 94% of the students are on lunch support, so that's about 249 students. We know that 40% of Quincy Elementary students are at risk for obesity. They're either overweight or at risk. I think that's really the only statistics I have. Do you have anything else, Misty? And I can tell you that 501 is very supportive of this particular school being targeted, so.
Good morning, Misty Kruger, Shawnee County Health Agency. One of the other situations like Quincy is that they have been targeted by 501 as an academic school as well, that they're having some academic issues going on. And so we know as a health department that when you're more physically fit and you have a better healthy lifestyle, you're going to perform better. And so that's another aspect that 501 is very interested in, is the fact that they have a low performing school that they're working to do some work on for this upcoming school year, and to just kind of partner all of this together. So that's just another piece for, aside from the lunch and the obesity issues there, as well as that there are some academic issues.
And then this grant would really target how children are able to get to the school, and targeting safe routes for them, bike routes, trails, what are sidewalks that are needed,
Yes,
and that there may be infrastructure needs
yes,
but in the county and the city.
yes. And if once that master plan's developed, then there's a phase 2 of the project that we could apply for funding, we being the city, county, whomever wants to do that work, somebody within our community.
Thank you. Move to adopt the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Item E, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-288-2013 with Fidelity Information Services to receive payments for the Kansas Department of Children and Families Services for KDHE licensed programs.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. A couple weeks ago, I was before you and you approved an application for the Department of Children and Families provider. This is the next step that's needed. This is the company that we received the payment from. There's no cost to Shawnee County. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Randy. Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item E2, consider approval of request to waive the purchasing resolution and authorize and execute contract C-289-2013 with Durham School Services for bus transportation for the summer day camp programs in an amount of $33,000.
Good morning, Commissioners. Last year, Parks and Recreation solicited bids for transportation for this. We found out the only company that can provide this, what we need, is the Durham Bus Service. Basically, this affects thousands of kids that were able to attend our camps that would not be able to otherwise. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Randy. Questions?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to
Second.
approve by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item E3, consider approval of resolution number 2013-48, authorizing the placement of necessary traffic signs and barricades for the efficient and safe direction of traffic, of vehicles and pedestrian traffic for the Spirit of Kansas fireworks celebration on July 4th, 2013.
Good morning, Commissioners. Several departments work diligently in developing a plan to place these barricade devices for the to provide the safety, public safety, and efficient traffic flow for this event. This is I think the 17th year we've had it at Lake Shawnee. We have tweaked throughout the years, but we've come up with a pretty good plan that works. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Randy. Any major changes?
No, not so much with the traffic flow but there is because of exiting on 45th Street because of the road construction near Topeka and 45th, but we've worked that out.
Okay.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Item E4, consider approval of resolution number 2013-49, authorizing the placement of necessary traffic signs and barricades for the efficient and safe direction of vehicles and pedestrian traffic for the Topeka 10-man triathlon to be held on Saturday, June 15th, 2013.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Osborne, Parks and Recreation. This is a annual event that we've had out at Lake Shawnee, and basically this is just a traffic resolution set in place to keep spectators and keep the athletes safe with the event. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Thank you, Sean. Other questions?
Motion to approve?
So motion to approve by Commissioner Archer,
Second.
second by Commissioner
The other one.
Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
I looked
Thank you for the compliment.
sad. I hope said.
Item E5, consider authorization and execution of contract C-290-2013 with the Kansas Turnpike Authority for improvements to and expenditures associated with the replacement of the Wittenberg Bridge over the Kansas Turnpike at a cost to Shawnee County of $561,860 over 2 years, and authorizing the transfer of program user fees in the same amount into the Parks and Recreation Building Maintenance Fund to cover the cost of this project.
Morning, Commissioners. Terry Bertles, Parks and Recreation. On February 11th, I came before you and asked for your approval for an application for a TE grant that would extend the Deer Creek Trail from its current terminus at Southeast 10th, which is where the research plant, the South Research Plant is, to connect with Lake Shawnee and the Lake Shawnee Trail. At the time, you were advised that the total cost of the trail was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 million, and the county needed to provide about a $300,000 or 20% match of whatever the estimated cost was, plus design. We discussed at length the critical part of the trail extension was the question of how we got across the Kansas Turnpike. Kansas Turnpike Association was in the process of replacing the bridge at Wittenberg Road and expressed their willingness for us to participate in that replacement with the addition of an 11-foot wide walkway on the side of the bridge. If the condition was that we were willing to pay for the cost of the construction of the bridge, or our portion of it, and the design, the cost of the design of our portion of the bridge. At that time, I expressed that our cost would be estimated at $525,000, with the possibility of it being slightly higher if we went from a 10-foot clear span to an 11-foot clear span. We did have to go to that 11-foot clear span, so our cost went up to somewhere in the neighborhood of $561,000. At that time, I tried to emphasize the fact that this option was the least expensive and the best option for us to get across the Turnpike Authority, and for us to be able to continue south to Lake Shawnee. And I tried to separate the trail project from the bridge project because they are different projects. What you approved was the grant application for the trail, but to do so, we had to recognize that we had to get across the Turnpike, and the bridge was the key part of that. And I emphasized that by saying yes to the TE grant application, it was really necessary to say yes to participating in the replacement cost of the bridge, our share of the replacement cost of the bridge, and that the total amount would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $825,000. You approved that application 3-0. We followed up with KTA to advise them of the willingness to participate, of Shawnee County's willingness to participate in the bridge cost, and drew up an agreement, and they drew up an agreement setting the terms and the conditions. At the time, Mr. Archer asked, could we get this amortized over maybe a 5-year period of time? We talked to KTA about that. They were willing to amortize it or do it in 2 separate payments over, well, the first payment, I can't remember when during the process the first payment would be, and then the balance payable upon completion of the bridge. So they did agree to that. What we're asking for you to do today is to approve the contract that's before you with KTA so that they can move forward with the design and construction and replacement of the bridge with our 11-foot pedestrian walkway on the side of it that will allow for us to then make a connection to the Deer Creek Trail and continue south to Lake Shawnee. You know, I think that trails are an extremely popular part of what we do. If we get 10 attaboys, probably 7 of them are trail related. That may be overestimating a little bit, but they're very popular. They're critical to the transportation component that they have. They're critical to the health aspects that they have. They're just a tremendously popular part of what we do as a department. This trail is identified in the 2000 Regional Trails Plan that was adopted by the governing bodies of Topeka and Shawnee County at the time. Deer Creek Trail is identified, and it expresses in that plan that one of the difficulties is going to be how do we get across the turnpike. So as far back as 2000, we were looking at how we're going to do that with Deer Creek Trail. At this time, we haven't heard back regarding the status of our grant. We don't expect to until July. That's the normal time frame. So I don't know what the status of our grant is, but I need to stress again, excuse me, that the trail is in the plan, and we intend to go south with that trail. If we don't get our grant this time, we'll apply for a grant another time, your approval pending, of course. The part that's unique, that we have a narrow window of opportunity on, is participation with KTA on replacement of this bridge. So if we don't do anything else, participation in replacement of this bridge is key for us to be able to go south with that bridge or with that trail at the least expensive and most appropriate way. If we miss this narrow window of opportunity, we miss a chance to save some money over the alternatives later on. I know there was some question about whether or not KTA would wait for the development of a master plan to go ahead with their construction of the bridge. I talked with David Jacobson this morning, who is the chief engineer with KTA, and they cannot. They will move forward without our participation if they can't wait till February. And he expressed that to me, that this had been something that had been going on for a couple of years, and it had. He was also apologetic and didn't want us to think that he was pressuring us. I don't know if you know David. David's a very nice young man. Well, I don't know how young he is. He's a nice man. He would hold this up if it was all feasibly possible. And I know that at the time of the last meeting, Mr. Archer expressed the hair-raising venture that is crossing that bridge. This bridge needs to be replaced. Bottom line is, they're going to go ahead with us or without us. And then I think there was some question about should we do this? Well, the master plan, the component of the master plan and waiting to do this project until we have the master plan. I can guarantee you that any outcome of the master plan that relates to trails will be to adopt in the master plan the regional trails plan. If we didn't have a regional trails plan, a component of the master plan would be to develop a regional trails plan. Cities that have them, cities and counties that have them know that they need to continue to improve them. Cities and counties that don't have them are encouraged to start developing them. So I guess that's my attempt to take some of the pressure off whether the master plan is done now or not. That's what I have. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Terry, what's the life expectancy of the bridge? How old is the current bridge?
Current bridge, I believe, was the 1950s construction. It's original to the development of the turnpike. So whenever the turnpike went in, that bridge went in.
And they're completely replacing it?
They're going to wipe it out and start over.
Okay. It looks like from the memo, the first payment would be due July 5th, 2014, and the second, January 9th, 2015. Is that correct?
Or upon completion of the bridge, if there's some kind of complication that
Okay.
slows down the process.
Okay. I'm just reading that from the memo. Other questions? Commissioner Cook?
Mr. Bertle, just so that we have some ideas of the cost, the Kansas Turnpike Authority they are going to replace Wittenberg Bridge whether or not we participate in this program.
Correct.
And so they're going to have the cost of the construction of the bridge regardless.
Correct.
We're talking about adding 11 feet wide, 255 feet long.
Correct.
And that cost is $500,000?
Yes.
And so this $500,000 is not for the bridge itself, it is solely for the 11 feet span, 255 feet long.
That's correct.
Okay. And there is no other feasible or reasonable way to get across the turnpike for the trails?
Not that's cheaper or more efficient than this. There are alternatives, certainly. We could go build our own bridge and go over that way. We could go do an underpass and go under that way. Nothing is as cost effective as this alternative.
And I remember on February the 11th, being a new commissioner, barely a month into my tenure, but this project was brought to us with urgency that it needed to be approved immediately. Time was of the essence, and we had really very little time to delay or debate or
Right.
think.
Right.
And so, again, we're presented with a request to approve with urgency, with very little time to debate or delay or think.
Right.
And is there, I mean, is that normal for the Turnpike Authority that they tell us when to jump and we do?
No, what David and I talked about this morning was, it was urgent, and the reason that you didn't have time to think, in my opinion, is it was new to you. We've had conversations with KTA for years about participating in this bridge replacement. So it wasn't new to us, and the time-sensitive nature of what we did last time was the grant application process was winding down, and we had to have our grant application done and in by the next Friday. The critical part was, there's no point in turning in that grant application if we didn't have some kind of a commitment on the bridge. So the time-sensitive nature wasn't the bridge itself, it was the grant application, but it had the same net effect.
And if this commission approves this participation, we could hypothetically be looking at a trail that ends at Deer Creek at Resource, a trail that picks back up at Lake Shawnee, and a bridge in the middle with no connecting trail between the two that has a walkway across.
Well, as I said on February 11th, KTA or KDOT may choose to fund this at 100%, which would get us from Southeast 10th Street to Lake Shawnee in connection, or they may choose to fund it at some reduced portion.
But they could also choose not to fund it at all.
They certainly could.
And then we would be left with a bridge, with a walkway, but nothing else connecting it.
That would be, at that time and until it was done, our number one priority for trail development. Until we made that connection, this is our number one priority for trail development in Topeka, Shawnee County.
Thank you. Commissioner Archer, did you have questions? I think we have someone who would like to speak.
I can let my friend, Mr. Patty, speak.
Chair Bueller, members of the commission, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning on this subject. I'm Clint Patty, outside counsel for the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge Number 3, an organization that represents approximately 90 Shawnee County Sheriff's officers in uniform full-time here in the county. We're not here today to necessarily oppose or support either way this proposal. I suppose in some ways, if we were here to oppose it, it would have been appropriate to be here in February to speak out against it, but frankly, we didn't know a lot about it at that time. What we do know today is that there is a proposal to commit over $500,000 of the county's money towards this project, and the issue that we would like you all to consider is one of priorities. In the last 4 years, from 2009 through 2013, the uniformed officers that I represent for the Shawnee County Sheriff's officers have essentially received no raise. They have received received no raise and virtually no increase in pay. Their increase in pay over that four-year period has been approximately 1%, not 1% a year, 1% over a 4-year period, about $80,000 spread out over 4 years. These are 90 very dedicated public servants who do the most critical and dangerous work imaginable. There is not a day in my life that I will perform the kind of work that these folks do every day, and I think that's true for most of us. What we hear many times about the lack of pay increases is that there's simply no money available, and I appreciate that. That is many times true. But when we see more than $500,000 being committed towards this bridge project, we have to wonder, is there really money available? It's just not being prioritized towards my clients. So we ask you, as you consider this, to remember these 90 uniformed officers that serve us every day and have essentially gone 4 years without an increase in pay. And with that, I'm glad to stand for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
No, Madam Chair, but I do have a comment. I've given this a lot of thought, and I wish this is something we could do, but I can't support it, essentially because we can't afford it. $561,000, we can't afford it. $280,000 for the next 2 years, we can't afford. When I look at expenditures like this, I think about how it translates into personnel. And 280,000, that's like 6 to 8 or 9 employees. And I don't think Mr. Burles would give up 6 to 9 employees to pay for this. Am I right?
That's correct.
Could you give up? No, you couldn't. So that, and going forward in the budget process with large expenditures, I'm going to specifically ask, could you give up an equivalent in the number of employees for large expenditures? I think that's a valid question, and I think this year, next year, and as far as we can see, we're going to have significant financial challenges for Shawnee County. We can't afford this now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Cook.
This, like Commissioner Archer, this has been a decision that I've wrestled with quite a bit. Last night I had the opportunity to speak to the Tecumseh Kiwanis Club, and I expressed to them that this was one of the tough parts of my job. This is a project that falls directly in my district. This is a project that affects people across the county. But like Commissioner Archer, I voiced the same concern. Even though this appears to be our only opportunity to participate in this project, and even though the time is of the essence for the project, as Commissioner Archer has expressed, and as Mr. Patty eloquently expressed, when we look at the people that are serving the county, whether they're sheriff's officers, county employees in general, we have a dedication to them, and this has to be a priority, and taking care of our employees has to be a priority. And as Mr. Birtles wouldn't be willing to give up his employees for this project, I think that we need to look at making sure that we're investing our money into those that serve us the most. Thank you.
I'm gonna take an opposite viewpoint here. I appreciate Mr. Patty's comments, and appreciate all the service that the FOP provides us and all our employees provide us. In considering budget, ongoing personnel cost is very expensive. It's ongoing. You have to incorporate that into the budget this year and the following year and the following year. I guess I see this opportunity with the bridge as a one-time expense with long-term benefits to the community as a whole. And so sounds like we will have a split decision on this vote, but those are my comments. I look at it as leveraging our dollars to go further into the future. This bridge is only going to be built once in every 60, 70 years, and we have this opportunity. So, motion to deny or a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve the request. I do not think I will hear a second. Motion dies for lack of a second. Next item, please.
Item E6, consider approval of request to terminate contract C 526-2011 as amended by contract C 116-2013 with ISS Worldwide for janitorial services at various Shawnee County facilities.
Commissioners, we're asking for your approval to terminate contract with ISS Janitorial, provides janitorial services for the courthouse, our portion of the LAC Law Enforcement Center, and the Shawnee County Health Agency Clinic at Central Park Community Center. We have had some concerns with this contract. It was renewed recently because we saw some improvements, but those improvements didn't continue. So we're recommending the termination of this contract. If it's approved, we'll submit a 30-day written notice to the contractor, give us our 30 days to get organized on a replacement, and come back to you with a recommendation for replacement services for those areas.
Terry, I don't think this would come as a surprise. I mean, we have had some ongoing concerns.
Right.
It seems that the day people that are here, they're responsive, but the concerns are at night when some of that work is being performed. And we have documentation of the concerns.
And I've
So-
spoken to the manager at ISS. He's not going to find out about it in the newspapers.
Right, right,
Good.
right. But if anything could be worked out so that at least those individuals who work during the day, I don't know if there's any situation that we could, we could arrange, but that would be helpful, I think. Anyone else have anything to add on this item? I mean, we cut back on this service a great deal. That was part of our cost savings
Right.
in early 2011, I believe. It's not ideal that we've cut back on service, but yet the service that we get, we expect to be very good. So Commissioner Archer, do you have something?
I was just going to say thank you for bringing this up, and I would make a motion to approve the request, Madam Chair.
So motion to approve the request by Commissioner Archer,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
3-0. Thank you, Terry.
Item F, Commission Number 1, acknowledge receipt of correspondence from Dinah Pennington announcing her retirement from Shawnee County effective June 14th.
Is Dinah here today? Yes. Do you have
Right
any
there.
words that you want to say? That's a lot of.
Here to make sure you approve
You want some rest after 40 years?
Well, 38.
38 and a half, okay.
But who's counting?
Okay, all right, good deal. Well, sadly, I'll acknowledge the receipt. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0, and this will set in motion your replacement as well, so we'll have some discussion. Thank you.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
This is information for the department directors. The commission had an opportunity to visit TARC last week. It was a very nice visit. There's some services that they have that, as departments, you may want to be made aware of, and so I brought some extra copies of those services. So, Allison?
Yes, Allison Alejos Health Agency. Back in April, I did a presentation with Tom Llewellyn and Bob Hedberg on the Community Health Needs Assessment. We finally have it in its printed form after some unanticipated delays, but just wanted to provide a copy for you all and to announce that it will be available online. It will be available online at the health agency's website, and I'm sure with Stormont and St. Francis as well. It should be this afternoon or tomorrow at the latest. And we did not print a whole lot of copies because they were very expensive, so just a handful.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
While you're here, would you summarize
Sure.
for the media and everybody in attendance what this tells us?
Sure.
Allison?
Basically, what we did, we met over the course of probably about a year and a half, the hospitals and the health agency. We did some surveys with the community. We did some focus groups with different community partners, and actually settled on probably about 14 indicators, things that we were looking at as being problematic in the community that the community felt they wanted to look at further. I can tell you just very quickly, obesity, consumption of fruits and vegetables, physical activity, some of the obvious ones that we anticipate. We've got some immunization rates that we want to see increase. Infant mortality was an issue. Access to healthcare providers in general, primary care providers. There's some dental issues. That's kind of the high ones that we talk about in there. So the next steps are going to be that the hospitals and the health agency are meeting with the Assessment Advisory Committee in June to talk about how to begin community health improvement planning. And so that we'll have those early meetings in June, and then probably be out with the larger community shortly thereafter.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would like to congratulate Mr. Knight. This last weekend, there was the Kids Stampede at the Ward Mead Park. My family was able to attend. It was very well attended by the community. There were a lot of activities for the kids, and so it was a nice function on a Saturday afternoon. And so I wanted to let Mr. Knight know that I was very happy to be able to be there, and it was a very well put together event.
Thank you very much. I have honestly had very little to do with that. I'll pass that on to the John Bell and the staff at Old Prairie Town, who do a terrific job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Next Next item, please.
Item 6, executive session.
Move to resolve into executive session for a period not to exceed 30 minutes for purposes of consult with legal and non-elected personnel. That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0 and no action anticipated.
No action anticipated?
Is John back in session. No action required. We are adjourned. Thanks.